Premier League out the way, that only means one thing now, Newcastle fans. Champions League is back. Read then, lads and lasses, how we're doing. I hope you're all well. I bring to you a very detailed, if I do say so myself, match preview when Newcastle United take on Borussia Dortmund in 2 days' time. 8 p.m. at St James's Park. It doesn't get much better than that for a Champions League night. But trust me when I say this is very detailed. How Borussia Dortmund line up, their past results, how fantastic their manager's doing, and some great players that they've still got. By the way, Marco Reus is still doing it for them. A definite club legend for them. We'll get straight into it. And the first thing I want to speak about is, of course, how the group stands right now. Newcastle United first with 4 points, a win and a draw. Borussia Dortmund rock bottom, 1 point, a loss and a draw. It doesn't look good for them. On paper, the weakest side, we could say so. I know people would have thought it might have been us because we were in the fourth pot. But Borussia Dortmund on paper, the weakest side, we will say so, to be respectful. Now, of course, Borussia Dortmund do travel to St James's Park. It probably is going to be the easiest game so far. Let's not get blindsided that we did beat Paris Saint-Germain 4-1. I can guarantee that we won't beat Dortmund, plus 3-4 goals. It's going to be a harder game, and you're going to see why. The way that Dortmund's set up, and they don't concede that many goals, although conceding 2 at Paris and none to Milan in another 0-0 draw. But let's get in what could actually happen if we did win this game. Yet again, I do believe we will win this game. If we win this game, that pushes us up to 7 points. 2 wins and a draw that will be. Borussia Dortmund will then, of course, stay rock bottom with 1 point. Depends how the Paris Saint-Germain and AC Milan game, if that goes to a draw, then I do believe, of course not mathematically, but I do believe we could easily qualify for the knockout rounds, which sounds fantastic to say that, because, of course, we thought ourselves this is just going to be an experience. We're battering every team now. Of course, we didn't batter the AC Milan, but of course, it does look like it's the easiest game on paper. They haven't scored a goal yet. Of course, they haven't won. Dortmund in the Bundesliga, though. Just listen up to this, because they have done fantastic. Edin Terzic, I think he's a Serb. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. But Edin Terzic, the manager for them, has done a fantastic job for them. Just listen to these stats. 43 games played. In the last 43 games for Borussia Dortmund, they have won 31 games. Of course, that accounts pre-season as well. But if we just look at the Bundesliga, in the last 16 games, they've won 11 and drew 5. They haven't been beaten in the past 16. I think you can guess who the last team they lost to. Of course, it was Bayern Munich. But that's absolutely fantastic. That is a team full of warriors. I know, of course, the first thing people say is, it's the Bundesliga. It's not the most competitive team. There's only 2 really good teams in there. Still, it's a domestic league, lads. It's of course, top 5 domestic league in the world. It's still fantastic. Every game is a struggle, no matter who you are, no matter where you're playing. 8 games, 17 goals scored for Borussia Dortmund, 2.1 goals per game, 3.5 big chances per game, and 1 man, which is the what should I say, the threshold of that team, who's doing fantastic for them as well, Julian Brandt. Well, Julian Brandt didn't exactly hit the ground running when he first joined Borussia Dortmund, but this season in the Bundesliga, we're not going to use Champions League statistics because, of course, they haven't scored a goal yet, they haven't been too well, but this is just based off their performances in the Bundesliga. A little bit less competitive, we do know. Started 7 games, goals scored 3, assists 4. And it's not just one man I want to pick up on. If you think of Borussia Dortmund, who do you think of? And don't think of current players who you would think are doing good. Just think of Borussia Dortmund. Who's the one man that you think of? Of course, it's Marco Reus. I mean, he's been on the cover of FIFA. This man, for us Newcastle fans, is just a legend for Borussia Dortmund. He's a legend of the game, you could say. Of course, he's been ridden with injuries, unfortunate for his career. But Marco Reus is still doing it at 34 years old. Hats off to him. 5 games played in the Bundesliga, 3 goals and 1 assist. He's just a fantastic player. Honestly, I think I've seen something that he turned down Real Madrid moves. He is still a man to admire, and still he's shown at his age that we do need to be scared of him. Now, whilst we are on the topic of players, there's one which I want to pick up on, which does baffle me. I know he plays every single game for Borussia Dortmund, of course, because he is a goalkeeper. Gregor Kobel, I think is how to pronounce it, or English pronunciation, Gregor Kobel. Every time I've watched him, he just seems to be a dodgy goalkeeper. He led a few in against Rangers. Was it 4 he led in? Or it might have been a different goalkeeper that time. But every time I've watched Kobel, whether it's in the Bundesliga, or sometimes I even watch the DFB Pokal, I don't know why. I like RB Leipzig, and they win it quite a few times. Hence why I watch them. I love that team when they had Nkuku, Soboslai, the rest of them. But what I was going to say is, every time I've watched him, he just seems to be a bit of a dodgy keeper. But Here and there, he pulls out an absolute blind. I remember against Chelsea, he played very, very well at Stamford Bridge, or it might have been at Dortmund actually, but he played very, very well against them. But every now and then, he just seems to slip up. How Borussia Dortmund actually do line up, which is what we're going to get onto as well. In their last game, in a 1-0 win against Werder Bremen, they lined up in a 4-5-1. Now, Newcastle seem to play quite well against the 4-5-1. Sean Longstaff, when there's many people in the midfield area, he seems to deal with that very, very well. He's just a complete engine, isn't he? I think he can just handle anything under pressure. We're seeing how cool he was in front of goal against Crystal Palace. Not long ago, that probably would have went miles over the bar. Might even went to the far near post. We don't know. But in a 4-5-1, I think we could handle with that in midfield very, very well. Of course, I've got one man up front. Flashbacks when we used to stick Joel Linton up front in a 4-5-1. But seriously, if we break down that midfield, I think the game is all ours. They might play a counter-attack. We don't know. They might not be used. Of course, they are in Germany. The fans there are fantastic, but they might not feel that English fans are that good. And we just have to give our all as fans in that stadium. What I do think Borussia Dortmund will try and do, though, although we've overcome it very, very well, is trying to exploit our European new boy status. I know we've played in Europe before, but it's been a very, very long time. The players that are in this squad now, of course, didn't play 20 plus years ago. Some of them, and for the majority of them, it's the very first time. I think Borussia Dortmund will try and exploit that. Of course, they are so experienced in Europe, but we've dealt with that extremely well. I mean, 0-0 at the San Siro, smashing one of the best teams in the world 4-1. It doesn't get much better than that. But one of the reasons I also say this, and why I think Borussia Dortmund will try and take the game by the scruff of its neck, you could say, I think we'll try and be in control, is because they average a fair bit of possession, especially against PSG away and AC Milan as well, two of the best teams in the world, you could say. Yes, they genuinely are, of course, in the Champions League, one of the best teams in Italy and the best team in France. They've averaged 46% possession over them 2 games in the Champions League. We've averaged 38%. Not great. Of course, they haven't won a game yet. We have won one. We've drew one at the San Siro, of course. But I think they'll just try and ease into the game, take it by possession, maybe get an early goal. And if they do, it could be a problem for Newcastle. I think it'll be a very, very hectic game. They'll try and get the game in control. We'll try and grab it by the scruff of its neck. Kieran Trippier lobbing the balls forward, all out attack. It could be a very, very good game. I can't wait for this one. I think it'll be very, very high scoring. Yet again, the majority of this is from the AC Milan match at the San Siro from us. We don't average. Our saves in the Champions League so far, overall, that Nick Pope has saved, has been 9. 9 saves Nick Pope's had to make in 2 matches. You don't need to be a genius to work out. That is 4.5 saves per game, of course. Yet again, the majority of that was in the AC Milan match. Now, Dortmund average, they have made 2 saves in the Champions League so far. That AC Milan game with them, of course, AC Milan have drew 0-0 both times in their Champions League opening fixtures. It was just a bit of a dead game for them. But, yet again, 9 saves to 2. It just looks like they can sit off very, very well with that 5 in midfield. They just look very cosy. They look like they're going to ease into the game. It's going to be a very, very tough game for Newcastle. We're not going to take it by any sort of light circumstances at all. It's a European game. Now, I'm pretty sure you've all seen this fantastic statistic by TNT Sports, which they put on their X page. In the European competitions, whether it's Europa League, Champions League, in our last 29 matches, 21 wins, 7 draws, and 1 loss. That is absolutely fantastic. Of course, coming up against the likes of PSG, Barcelona, the list goes on. It's absolutely fantastic. Newcastle United at home are a fortress. Just like people go on Anfield in the European nights, that's when the fans turn up. It's a hard ground to go to. St James's Park takes that on to the next level. Fantastic. As for an actual score prediction, because I guarantee you want me to give you one, I do believe this will be a high scoring game. In the back of my head, I've got 3-3, but I feel like Newcastle United could just go out and win 3-0. I don't know, it's a very, very tricky one. Borussia Dortmund can take this game also. Of course, they've got a fantastic record in the Bundesliga, just like mentioned in this very detailed video. If I had to pick one, of course, it's very early. Some players could still get injured for them. Some players could get injured for us. This is the world of football. But as a 2-day early prediction, I'm going to say Newcastle United 3, Borussia Dortmund 2. It could be a draw, could be anything. I'd be happy with anything apart from a 5-0 loss, of course. Thank you very much for watching. You let me know your score predictions in the comments down below. I'm very intrigued to see what everybody else thinks. If you're a Borussia Dortmund fan, which if you found this video, fair enough, fair play to you. You let me know your score prediction, what you think of Newcastle United down below. Thank you very much for watching this video. It's been fantastic to talk about statistics like this. I love giving you statistics and just the background of European teams as well. But of course, stay tuned for the match previews and all my other content in the Premier League, Champions League, and when I'm doing general vlogs. I've got one very big thing coming up tonight. That will be on the TikTok. It's got something to do with Kevin Keegan and Eddie Howe. That's all I'm saying, and I am meeting them in real life, hopefully. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jody Josh. Go and enjoy your day, legends.